Hi, everyone. We're joined today by a very special guest, Bianca Shaw, who is the VP of Enterprise Social Media and Reputation Management for Caesars Entertainment. Bianca, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Such a
I
pleasure.
definitely want to tell everyone ahead of time that you are a UNLV alum, and it plays right into our conversation about how you decided what you wanted to do in college and what that experience was like going into your first job.
Absolutely. First off, I'm born and raised Las Vegas, so UNLV is near and dear to my heart. I actually started my undergrad degree as a fine arts major just because throughout growing up in high school and even middle school, fine arts was my passion. I think within the first semester of being a fine arts major, I realized I don't want to be a starving artist one day. So trying to marry the creativity to business is where I landed in marketing. So that said, I did graduate from the Lee Business School. So once again, go Rebels. But marketing has been my passion since graduating and really the last 20 years of my career.
So walk us through graduating from college and then what you took as your first job and what you took away from that job.
Sure. So my first marketing job out of school was working for Ticketmaster. I was a marketing coordinator. So that really skyrocketed my interest in just overall entertainment for the city. It looked very, very different when I was working for Ticketmaster, but we still had Celine Dion. We had a lot of the production shows, but being able to work with not only the multiple properties on the strip, but even downtown and just some one-off locations, it really just challenged me to think about it differently in terms of how do we market shows? And this is when I was just focusing on the traditional side of marketing. So social media didn't quite exist just yet or in the formalities as it does today, but it really exposed me to different personalities, stakeholders of just individuals throughout the strip location, as well as just Las Vegas as a city.
Love that. And walk us through now your role and climb through the company and what day-to-day looks like for you now.
Sure. So social media in hospitality and gaming is 24/7. What that means for me in my role as the VP of Enterprise Social is that I oversee Caesars Entertainment. So anything organic underneath the Caesars Entertainment brand is my responsibility. So we do have over 50 destinations throughout the US. Obviously, you guys are familiar with the Las Vegas brands of Caesars Palace, Paris, Las Vegas, Harrah's, and a number of others. But in addition to that, we do have our Caesars Rewards program, which is the loyalty program, as well as our corporate accounts, in addition to our Caesars digital side of the business. So what that means is Caesars Sportsbook, as well as Caesars Palace Online Casino. So all of the online wagering and just overall, it's a very comprehensive system that falls under my purview. But for that, it's coming up with the strategies, it's coming up with the partnerships, influencer marketing, in addition to all the care. So customer care, I will always emphasize, is as important, if not more, than the content side of the business.
You're speaking my language. You've seen so much in your career in social media changes. Like, what has the biggest shift been, do you think, in the industry since you've been working in it?
The biggest shift, I would say, just the prioritization of social media when it comes to any type of marketing and communications. It's somewhere where in the beginning of my career back in 2010, when I started focusing in social media, is that it was seen as a nice to have or something that, oh, that's kind of cool, a different take on marketing. But now the emphasis on just being present, managing your brand, ensuring that you are leveraging social to push out messaging when it comes to announcements, crisis management, just overall that it's not even just a trigger to be pulled. It's an essential part of being able to communicate with your customers and also being able to acquire new customers too.
And you talked about customer care and how important that is to you and how important you see it for the social media industry. How do you approach building and maintaining community engagement on all of those pages that you manage, which gives me anxiety?
Technology. I will say that that's the answer to any type of customer care, to actually be able to pay attention to all of the mentions that are coming through different channels, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc. It is so important to have a unified system. We utilize Sprout Social, which is fantastic just because it's pulling in all your brand mentions, anyone who tags you, who actually sends a DM or mentions you casually. With the beauty of being able to pull everything into one queue, helps drive efficiency, and you can help with the prioritization. Also, social listening, which is another component of the care side of the business, as you know, that is so important when it comes to any type of crisis management or just trying to anticipate what that conversation is going to be. That you can take a look at historical trends, you can look at historical mentions, identifying your detractors, identifying potential influencers that weren't on your radar. The care side is such an art that I will say that the way that I've structured my team today is that our content side and care side are completely separated, but they're also constantly talking. I've noticed with the content side that it's more of the creative brains versus the care side, which is a bit more in tune with process and protocol. And obviously, the ability to communicate is key.
Yep, so true. Can you share an example in talking about social listening of something that your team was able to bring to your attention that either prevented something from blowing up or helped you seize an opportunity?
Absolutely. I think with this day and age, social listening for us is really centered around the crisis management portion. So just being able to anticipate, like, okay, is something actually building in overall mentions or is it decreasing? Because at the end of the day, it really helps us determine what is that communication strategy going to be. If it's something that is quote unquote trending, but it doesn't have an actual customer impact on the guests that are staying at our properties, we'll choose to take a more conservative route. Just because if our customers aren't saying anything to our front desk, to our managers, to our operations teams, then there's no need for us to draw attention to something that might be in the media or having the shelf life of what it does on X, formerly Twitter, or something else. We always want to make sure that everything that we do has a business tie back to it. So we're not necessarily putting out statements, we're not putting out information that's going to disrupt or cause someone to change their mind when there's no reason to.
Well said. We're learning a lot about data this semester and its role in the social media industry. How do you approach data and what do you find is your most important metrics to look at?
I love data. I geek out on just overall seeing the number of impressions, the social engagements, especially the comments. But we do have our core KPIs. So just ensuring that you do stick to your KPIs consistently, because that's where you can really start to draw benchmarks and insights on what you're seeing from a data standpoint. So our KPIs are consistent of impressions. So that's reaching the individuals that you're trying to or leveraging your following. Then there's video views. Video is king, as we all know. We've seen the evolution, and obviously with TikTok and Instagram Reels influencing one another, that's very, very important in just being able to tell your brand stories. And then there's social engagements. So that can qualify as the comments, the likes, the shares, and the overall sends that we're seeing that is going to be very, very common in terms of how our consumers are consuming our content. And then at the end of the day, it's the engagement rate. So taking a couple of those metrics, the social engagements and the impressions, and calculating that. So you can have some sort of normalization to your KPIs.
In thinking about data, are there any social media campaigns that stand out to you as being particularly successful?
Oh, wow. There's so many to choose from, but I would say being in Las Vegas, we just went through the Super Bowl. Caesars Entertainment is actually one of the official sponsors of the NFL. So it's nice to be able to actually say Super Bowl versus some of our competitors who always have to say big game because they don't have the rights to do so. But it was more than just a week of just promotion of what was happening, live coverage, just the key moments with the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. It was the buildup. So there was so much in terms of planning, partnerships with the LBCBA, partnering with the host committee, which you were a part of, to implement the social listening and just command center. It was the activations that we did with, say, some of our celebrity chefs like Gordon Ramsay, Guy Fieri, as well as leveraging some of our Caesar Sportsbook talent, which consisted of the Mannings. So a lot of orchestration, a lot of just overall countdowns, and tying it back to the community as well, just because we know all these big events impact our community here in Las Vegas. So ensuring that we're giving back, we're giving opportunities to do giveaways, we're leveraging some of our production entertainers like Piff the Magic Dragon to help us bring these exciting milestones to life in terms of we're 50 days out. So Piff actually put together a bunch of little stuffies of his Mr. Piffles and did a countdown for us, which was super cute. So once again, it's not the literal of, hey, we're 50 days out, but showcasing entertaining ways, the way that we can do in Las Vegas to really bring it to life and stand out that, oh, we are 50 days out, but I wanted to go see Piff the Magic Dragon next time in Vegas.
Something that brings all social media people together is the content that we don't necessarily think is going to do well or is super fast to turn around, and it blows up and becomes our most viral moment. Is there anything that jumps out to you that you've ever worked on that's happened?
I would say it's kind of a pivot of your question. So I do believe that the best ideas come at the very last second. So collaboration, just working with each other, building up ideas. This was an idea, once again, at one of our big events for F1, that all of our celebrity chefs were in town to do chef activations where our customers could come in and actually see Gordon Ramsay, Nobu, Lisa Vanderpump, Guy Fieri, and Giada De Laurentiis. So being that they were in town, I had an opportunity to bring them all together in one location. And I positioned it, hey, like we're going to do a photo shoot because it's been a while since all of you have been in the same room together. So we brought them to the patio, the terrace of Omnia Nightclub, and did a quick photo shoot. Had some of our executives be in the photos with them just because, once again, it was such a rare opportunity. And then after they were done, I was like, oh, okay, before you guys go, let's go downstairs to the DJ booth. Brought them all. Everybody was like, Bianca, what are you doing right now? Everybody has places to be. They're getting a little bit antsy about time. I'm like, you know what? Trust in me. So my team and I, in addition to Gordon's right hand when it comes to everything social, we're like, you guys are all going to dance in the DJ booth. So that was a risk that I took, and everybody was on board. They had the cutest interactions. I knew that it was either going to blow up in my face or blow up on social, which it did the latter. So got one of the trending sounds. They did a dance, and it was incredible just because it was such a last minute idea that could have easily gone south, but it did its job within 15 minutes.
You really seized the moment, and I'm glad it went the good way, because sometimes we're not always that lucky, but man, it really pays off when it does happen.
Absolutely. I'll have to share the video with you.
Yeah, definitely. How do you approach, running so many different social media channels and approach customizing content for each of the different platforms?
We do play into the brands, just knowing that social is sometimes the first interaction, first overall awareness impact of what you do from marketing. So I'm the biggest believer in quality over quantity. So with my team, I just want to always ensure that they know their brand foundations. They know, as Caesar's Palace, as Paris, Las Vegas, how you speak to your customers and how you are representing yourself. We're always understanding that the customers at the end of the day, for Caesar's Palace, we're trying to be a little bit more affordable luxury. So what is that strategy that plays into the bigger level and just positioning of that brand? We're also very integrated with our marketing teams, our PR teams, just brands. So anytime that there can be integration of just understanding like, okay, this is a citywide effort, or if it's just Paris specifically, that you play into what type of brand elements have been established. So it's not a complete departure. I think that's the beauty of social, is that like you can take a little bit of a have some leeway to have a little bit more fun on social. But at the end of the day, we are a publicly traded company. We're a Fortune 500 company. So wanting to stay within those guardrails is so important for us.
What would you say is your most engaging platform in general for the company?
I think people would be shocked to know that it's actually Facebook. So Facebook
We
is
talk about this.
not going away. We see that we still get killer engagement rates, and just overall the customers that are on there are a little bit older, but you can't forget that we are Las Vegas. So we're built on the history of building what you see today on the strip. Our properties have been around for a very, very long time, but we've also put a lot of just overall capital investments into the architecture, the offerings, just overall, we're keeping up with the demand. So Facebook is still such an important channel, although we don't disregard that, but Instagram is another big channel for us just because we want to appeal to the younger and obviously those that are a little bit more affluent that can actually come to our properties. We don't want to disregard that just because Facebook is appealing to a specific demographic, but so is Instagram. I know everybody's going to ask about, like, what about TikTok? TikTok is something else that we can't ignore. And as a corporation, we only have one official TikTok account for Caesars Rewards because that's all encompassing. We tread lightly just because we're a gaming company. We have gaming licenses. We always want to make sure that we're abiding by all the guidelines of responsible gaming. Not necessarily marketing to those that are under 21. So that's why we're a little bit more shy when it comes to TikTok, but completely understand that the younger generation is using it as their search engine versus Google.
Are there any other emerging platforms that you're watching, or would you say TikTok is kind of that one?
I would say TikTok is definitely where we focused a lot of our newer efforts with. Threads, I know it came out strong when it did, but I feel like it's lost a little traction of what it could have potentially been. We were thinking that X, due to Elon, would have been phased out, but it is still a strong channel for us when it comes to real-time updates, breaking news, especially in the sports world. Just the real-time tweeting of just like the outcomes of games or predictions, et cetera, is something that we're not going to disregard. So those are our big three. So Facebook, Instagram, and X. And on the corporate side, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is fantastic. We see the engagement rates. We see just overall how quickly something can rack up those engagement rates as well as impressions.
Yeah, well said. In talking to college students, what advice do you have for them in finding internships that they can take value away from to hopefully get a job after college?
That's a great question. I think for any type of internships, go in with an open mind. Go in with an open mind that, especially as social media professionals, there is so much to be done and accomplished. But the biggest thing that can help you with social media is being able to organize yourself, just because you're getting so many different requests from all these different departments, especially from a gaming and hospitality standpoint, that at the end of the day, you need to be able to organize yourself because it can be very overwhelming. I think that understanding both sides of the business, so the content side and the care side, is very important as well, just because those do go hand in hand. So you don't ever want to launch, say, like a sweepstakes and your care team is not ready to take on the volume. So I think the ability to go in with an open mind, know how to organize yourself and multitask is going to always be something that will help you succeed in an internship. And for, once again, social media marketing, the only consistency is change. So staying hungry, you're never going to have a dull moment, especially working within this industry. If you're looking more so for a 9 to 5, this probably isn't it. And I mean that in the best way, because the people that I work with are very, very passionate about this. And I think that it's something that is ever changing and just expanding more and more.
And so in closing, what advice do you have for them overall about navigating this time in their life and entering their careers?
I would say go for an internship and just overall, just give opportunities or try different opportunities just because there's so much happening in Las Vegas that if you're working for a company like Caesars Entertainment, that it's going to open up different doors that you might start in marketing, but then you might land in operations. You might land in somewhere in terms of some of our sports partnerships with Allegiant Stadium and the Raiders. You don't necessarily have to know where you're starting or where you're going to end up. Um, Being in this industry, it's just like I worked for the majority of the companies on the show, but like I never thought that I'd stay at Caesars, and I've been here for about 4 years now. And it's just like it's opened a lot of doors. And also it's a very, very small city. So always try to network. Don't burn bridges. It's less than 2 degrees of separation. And you never know that you might come across someone someday and you might have met them at a mixer. You might have seen them speak at some sort of engagement that you might be working with them one day. So staying ahead of just like networking and just ensuring that you're open just because you could be working for a sports company one day because of the experience that you've had working in Las Vegas.
Well said. Well, Bianca, thank you so much for joining us today. Give me one sec. I'm going to stop the recording and then I will be right back.